learners! Welcome to another interesting episode of Learning Journey with Dr. Jerry. Today, we are on the third of a 5-part series focused on instructional materials. In this series, we aim to be able to personally explain instructional materials and its importance, examine different principles in the selection of instructional materials, investigate the types of instructional materials and tools, analyze factors affecting the selection of media for instruction, and finally, evaluate the selection purpose of instructional materials. But in today's session, we will investigate the types of instructional materials and tools. Are you ready? Let's get going! To make our session more interactive, please get a piece of paper and a writing utensil. Draw a table with 6 columns. And here is an example on how your paper should look like. But if you are under my class, you can use the learning guide that I have provided. Now, I will be flashing on the screen the different types of materials. And please write them down anywhere on your paper, but not in the table. Do you get it? Okay, shall we start? Now that we are done writing them down, let us categorize them. So I will flash on the screen the types of IM, and from your list, you will give me the example of IM that fits that category. You can say your answer out loud even though you may be alone so that we can still have interaction regardless of the modality of learning that we are using. Are you ready? Good. First one is non-projected displays. Flip chart. Yes, flip chart belongs to this category. But what is non-projected display and what are the other examples? All visual displays that can be shown to a class, whether a small group or an individual student, without the use of an optical or electronic projector of any sort is considered non-projected displays. Flip chart, as our example, fits this category because it is a visual display, but it does not need any optical or electronic project of any sort. Other examples may be whiteboards, bulletin board, charts, poster, flashcards, pictures, illustrations, maps, and others. Second, 3D visuals. Aside from non-projected displays, there are other traditional visual materials we use in class that aids us in teaching the content. If it is feasible and practical, teachers sometimes bring real objects to class, and we call these real objects realia. If you were to teach the difference between an orange and a tangerine, more than pictures, real fruits will be the best IM to teach students. The difference between the two will surely be identified if you have the realia. In the absence of realia, we resort to models. And this is an example of a model. Since we cannot bring the earth whenever we teach geography, we can use the globe, right? Similarly, in anatomy and physiology class, we use anatomical models to learn more where the specific organs are lodged. Printed or duplicated materials. Handouts. You are correct. Handout belongs to this category. You may think, sir, handouts are visual, non-projected. So why is it not part of the first category? Well, even though it is not projected, but because the purpose of handout is for duplication, then it is snugged in this category. The other examples are textbooks, workbooks, worksheets, manuals, teacher's guide, learning guides, rubric, and etc. Projected displays. Easy, right? We have projector, of course. The name is quite self-explanatory. We can conclude then that anything that uses an optical or electronic projector fits in this category. Yes, it can also include transparencies, motion pictures, PowerPoint presentations, and others. Audio materials. Anything that capitalizes on sound without display is an audio material. We can use our mobile phones with a Bluetooth speaker or any other gadgets that can transmit sound. Just remember that audio materials are mostly focused on the sound only and does not include the visual aspects. Computer mediated. These are modern instructional materials. For example, amongst dentistry students or medical students, we often use mannequins that are computer mediated. These mannequins provide students close to real patients or scenario. But aside from mannequins, we also use online games or even mobile games like Kahoots or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, where you can play some general information online games. So you see, when we talk about computer mediated, it is anything that is of course mediated by the computer. Learners. The reason why we are learning the different type of instructional materials is so that we will be able to be aware of the IM category and we will be more informed of its general advantages and disadvantages. For instance, if we are teaching in a far-flung area, we can just focus on preparing non-projected visual materials, right? And out of that category, there are tons of IMs that we can choose from. Also, by understanding where each belongs, it can help us be more organized in preparing, using, and storing them. Remember, instructional materials must make learning more real and meaningful to the learner. The materials should not substitute for learning, but must contribute to the learning process itself. It is suggested that the time spent on the use of instructional material to facilitate learning should commensurate with the lesson the period allows. An instructional material should be usable and not so complex that the time is spent on just learning how to use instructional material. Instructional materials to be used must make learning more real and meaningful to the learner. And finally, the use of several kinds of instructional materials to explain one particular concept must also take cognizance of the individual differences among the learners. Thank you for joining me in this another session. Don't forget to click subscribe so that you will be updated when the next video is uploaded. Again, thank you for joining me in this learning journey with Dr. Jerry.